Hey there, Friday Night Movie family. This is a very special South by Southwest edition of the podcast. We will be in Austin on the ground at the Wonder House, which is being put on by the amazing folks at the University of Arizona. It's taking place at Café Blue, downtown Austin, March 11th through 14th. We'll be there every day from about noon to 5, recording the show with amazing filmmakers and actors and creators. But as usual, we also invite audience members to come up and be on the show, and we'll definitely have some amazing swag to give away. So make sure to follow us at Friday Night Movie on all of the socials, and come and see us at the Wonder House in Austin.
Let's hear it for the University of Arizona filmmakers. I feel like that is not loud enough for the quality of incredible films that we just saw. It is a huge honor to be a member of the family, and we are so blown away by all of these filmmakers. Again, one more round of applause for them. Please, let's get it going. Okay. So, my name is Shai from the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This is my sister and co-host.
Hello, my name is Becky. Hi.
And we're going to bring to the stage three incredible filmmakers. You saw their films just now in the block that we just saw. First up, Roxanna Denise Stevens Ibarra, Roxie, who made Tesoro. Yeah,
come join us. Like a game show. Yes.
And then, we will be quizzing you on each other's favorite things. Next up, we have Sasha Reist, who did Changement, or Changement.
Changement. You know French. Come on.
We grew up speaking French. I should have done that better. And then we have Zack Lovvorn, who made Iris. And I was informed you were also the DP on The Lights Are On, No One's Home. So, wow, that's...
Co-DP.
Co-DP, okay. Humble man. Well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it just like our show. We're going to ask a bunch of questions of the filmmakers. We're going to have a lot of fun. But when we come out on the road and we do the show, we also love a little audience participation. So if you have questions of these filmmakers, make yourself known. It's a little hard with the lights, so just wave, raise your hand.
We have great people helping out here with extra mics, and so...
And at any point, we may come to you, so just be ready. We're very improvisational. So we're going to have a seat, and we're going to get going.
Here we go.
All right. Yeah, here we are. That's how we begin our shows. Here we are at the South by Southwest Wonder House with the University of Arizona's incredible filmmakers. We have with us Roxanna Denise Stevens Ibarra, maker of Tesoro. We have Sasha Reist, who made Changement. And we have Zack Lovvorn, who made Iris. First, we're going to just go around and ask you a couple of questions about your films. Then we're going to have some fun and ask you a little bit more of the family kitchen table vibe questions that we ask on our show. Because, we're related with family. Okay, Roxie.
First of all, I feel like another round of applause for your performance in the film.
Yeah, who also acted.
Yeah.
Which we had only met on Zoom beforehand, and so we were watching the film just now.
We didn't. I don't think we made the connection when we had seen it the first. We've seen the films before.
So
it's the first time we had seen them.
I changed my hair color a lot, so that might help.
That might be it.
Okay, Roxie, your film, all the films that we saw just now, has such an incredible, beautiful use of music. I feel like the music really cues the emotion in the different scenes with our main character, Gordo, right? And in the opening, and then all the way through to the end, it changes. How did you use music as part of the storytelling in this film?
So, coming from a dual degree background, having come from the Fred Fox School of Music with a Bachelor of Music and Music Education, with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film and Television, I actually started with a music sound design background. So that's all I really wanted to do until my senior year when I got the opportunity to direct something. And having done most of the post-production in COVID, actually, in my garage with my family, I ended up composing the entire, soundtrack, which is a lot of work, but really rewarding. And I am cringing now because I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. But
I mean, we didn't pre-plan this. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the music, so clearly you nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, music's a big part of my life. I'm actually still playing my violin, writing a new script about violinists. So.
All right.
It's wonderful.
That's awesome.
So, Sasha, you also you're pursuing a dual degree as well in dance and in film, and I'm wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how you film dance, because we have these wonderful scenes of our subjects in their classes, and if there's a particular approach you have to how you shoot dancers.
So actually, my cinematographer and I worked really closely because I told him, there is kind of that, fine line that you're trying to find, because I feel like with filmmakers and cinematographers, normally you go for those really cool angles and close-ups, versus the dancers are you have to show the line. You have to make sure the line is shown. Versus when dancers, normally they are so swept up in their actual choreography that they forget that when it's on film, it's a flat surface rather than the three-dimension that you get live. And so what I strive for and what I tried to communicate to Jackson, who did it beautifully, was that in between of letting film enhance the movement while still capturing the integrity of the dancing and the choreography. So that's the line that I go for. So trying to make sure that no movement that was, or what the specific intention of the movement is not lost, but then kind of cutting out the things that don't matter as much within it, but then also experimenting with different angles and making sure that when you want to see the emotion, you see the emotion. When you want to see more of the body, that's what's shown.
Thank you.
That is so awesome. All right, Zach. So you're gonna get a two-parter, because my first question, did you hear me? And is it bad that I cheered when the eyeball gets him?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad, but maybe questionable.
That was the second time seeing it, and I was so excited for the squish.
Yes.
The squish.
For the sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a million. I mean, sound has been something that's so incredible, right, Becky? That all of these films, all of the ones on the block, we kept saying, "Whoa, the sound is so perfect." So we'll come back to sound later, because I really want to talk about world building.
Gotcha.
Because it feels like, even though this is taking place in a tiny room, you've built a universe, and I would love to hear how you edit yourself to pick this one part of the universe to fit into a tiny piece of film.
Well, I think the obvious thing is constraints and low budget. The idea that this was done for under a certain amount of money. When we go into film school, we either have to, do Indiegogo or have our own funding. But I think the constraint is what made it so powerful, because I said, okay, I have one location, and what story can I tell that's very engaging with one location? And I think that that's something that many filmmakers deal with, is the idea of how do I make small things feel big? And I think that was part of the reason why I did it, because I wanted him to feel trapped in with this monster. He's literally trapped. It's the monster in the house, but he's trapped with him and has to talk with him. And it's just so, just tense. I'm so tense when I think about the idea of this little thing that could literally take over your brain in an instant. You have to treat it like it's a friend, And I think that is one of the reasons why I chose such a small area.
I feel even more guilty for cheering for the squishing.
I think we're cheering for the sound effects.
Yeah.
Maybe you're cheering for the monster winning, but I'm cheering for how amazing those sound effects are.
Cheering for how cool it was.
Yeah, and now I want to know what happens to him when he wakes up with the green eyeballs.
We'll get to that, but actually, that is my next question for Roxie.
Oh.
Because Roxie, when we were getting to know you all, we got a chance, a little VIP conversation in advance. It was a lot of fun. About a week ago. And Roxie, one of the things you talked about was wanting to make your film sad. and I hadn't seen it yet when we talked. And then I saw the film, and I said, "Oh." It was a real like knife in my heart. But as I was getting excited to watch it again tonight, I had a feeling of optimism because I saw one chapter close, but I was so interested to know what's the next chapter of Tesoro in this era with the next owner. What kind of life is he going to see? What kind of adventure? So I want to put that question to you. Even with your commitment to sadness, what is the next chapter for the Tesoro? What things will it see with its new owner?
Well, this is tentative, so I mean, I'm not going to overpromise or anything.
You're not going to be held to this. Okay? You're not. I just want to get into your imagination and your world.
Well, initially, I wanted to make Tesoro as a part of a two short film series, where the car would end up getting transferred to this little kid, right? The kid who's asking for the car. And the kid you see there is not necessarily the character that was supposed to get it. It was supposed to show the new generation of tacuaches, which I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a regionally based Sonoran car culture. So lowriders and, tricking out these trucks and no quemaca. I don't know if you guys know what that means. But it's about these really car-specific cultures that really like romanticize the era of Cesar Chavez. So transferring over the car is a really big deal. It's almost like giving it to a child. So that multi-generational like story that we just saw was like just a little bite of like what I really wanted. I guess I'm hoping that in the future, eventually I'll come back to this project and really show what happens to the car.
Wow, I love it.
All right, another question for Sasha here. So I loved the subjects in your films. They're so. How did you find them? How did you choose them? Tell us a little bit more about that behind the scenes.
So I actually dance with both of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so cool.
Kat is graduating this year. I'm actually going to be dancing in their grad thesis piece. And then Madeline, who now goes by May, is just graduated last year. And I knew I wanted to do a doc that was centering a non-binary dancer's story, and Kat just happened to start the university that year. And so, like, how I started to know them was, I know that they were a big advocate. They love telling their story. They love advocating for others. So I reached out to them and told them about this project, and they were instantly interested in it. And we've gotten a huge friendship because of that. And May, I danced with her for a couple of times, and I think we were just talking about queerness one day after rehearsal, as I do with a lot of queer people. It just happens. And I was like, actually, I'm making a film, and I would love for you to be a part of it. I also think it's I also had heard that she had done men's class, and I thought that was it would be a nice twist to the film. But I was like, okay, I don't actually want you to just talk about it. I want you to be another subject in it. So that's kind of how it came about. But they're both two very dear friends of mine, and I think that's what made it. Well, they're both like performers, so I think that's what made them awesome subjects, is that they love to perform, but also like we were just kind of chatting when we were having our interviews, which made it a really fun process, and it got a lot of emotion out.
Definitely, yes, yes. That is exactly what it.
I'm going to geek out with Zach with one more question, but then if there are any audience questions, now's the time to raise your hand to our mic runners, and then I think Stephanie will flag me down. We will be back with the panel because in the next round, you all are going to be our experts, right? Like our expert panel, because we're going to talk about all the films. Zach, in your co-DP role, and Lights Are On, Nobody's Home, light, color is used in so many different ways. Everything from the wardrobe to the final shot in the empty room. And then in your film, you made one in black and white.
Yes.
What's that decision process like? How do you feel? Do you have a preference? Is there a reason why you do one versus the other?
Well, with Iris, originally, shockingly, it was in color. And there was a part of me that thought about black and white, but I was like, that's a little too on the nose, for Twilight Zone. But then I realized that the green of the eye served such an important role in the story. And I went to our professor and I said, hey, Professor Schuyler, just for narrative clarity, I'm thinking of going black and white. And I thought she was going to, have things to say and opinions, but then she just looked at me and went, yes, like instantly. And I went, okay. Right. So I went back and removed all the color. And so in terms of the difference between Faye's film and my film, it came down to her vision. Because when Martin and I, the co-cinematographer, it was me, Martin Somoza, and Joel Romero on the camera team. He called us and said, I just got Faye's script, and I need your guys' help because it is so dense and so beautiful, and there's so much happening. I really want to sit down with you guys and break it down how we're going to bring this to the screen. And so it was a matter of not only communicating with her intensively in terms of the color, but when I went to shoot, I wasn't as privy to the settings he had and everything because he was unavailable for the next block of shooting. So I shot more neutral, and I said to her, I just want to make sure that in post you can match what Martin did. And it was all about making sure, hey, Faye, what colors do you want? Like, what do you want to invoke in this? And whatever you want, we will make it happen. So it was a difference in, like, making sure that the different visions came to life in the way that they should.
No, I'm just, thank you. Yeah. Great, wonderful. Now
all right, any audience questions yet? All right, start cooking them, folks.
Oh, I can see if I go like this.
Okay, now on our show, and then right before we start up the next block, I think we're good on timing, right? We're going to start up the next block. We play a game. It's our unofficial ridiculous rating system, okay? Back in the 19...
Where is this going?
No, it was yours.
I know, just make sure... Oh, okay, we're doing... Okay, make sure we're not... Okay.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, we do
we're
argue.
We're siblings, we have to argue.
We argue. It's fine,
expected.
Don't worry.
For the fan
Very normal.
in the audience, this is what they came to hear, is us argue.
We promise there will be more arguing in the next block. So, don't worry.
We play this game. It's called Buy, Rent, and Meh. It's the unofficial rating system, because back in the 1980s and 90s, anyone from the 1980s or 90s,
anybody remember a video store?
Who remembers video stores?
Remember the pressure of deciding if you were going to spend the money to purchase a video, or were you just going to go all the way down to the store and rent it? Still a very big effort, but it's only costing you a couple bucks. It's not such a heavy commitment. And then lastly, meh. Now, meh is not necessarily negative. Meh, it just means meh, I'm not interested, or meh, I've already seen it too many times, or meh, it's not included in my streaming subscription, so I'm not going to make that. But so it's not like we really.
There isn't a last place.
Yeah, there isn't a last place.
We're going to play within each of your genres, okay? And we're going to give you each 3 films. You got to rank them: buy, rent, and meh. Now, for Roxie, if it's okay, can we go with car films? Because of Tesoro, the car, and also everything you just told us about the potential sequel. I'm so excited. Okay. So, and if you haven't seen the movie, this works even better.
Yeah,
it's even funnier if you've never seen the movie.
Judge it based on the title.
Yeah, just judge it based on the title.
That's it. It's
okay,
so
fun. Number 1, I'm going to go with the original Fast and the Furious.
The first one.
Okay, when they were just stealing DVDs.
The DVD players.
DVD players, okay. Then number 2, I'm going to go with... Oh, this is actually real. Okay, then I'm going to go with Mad Max Fury Road. I don't know if you've heard it. If you're a Mad Max Fury Road fan.
So the newest one. Of that one.
Just
all right, follow our timeline here.
Keeps going. And then I'm going to go old school. And I'm going to be honest, this is not a movie I've seen, but when I think of car movies, I think of Herbie the Love Bug. Do you know that? I think there's one with Lindsay Lohan. It's probably the most recent one. It's a car that is alive and very friendly, I think. So how would you rank those 3 movies? Buy, Rent, and Meh.
The first one, I'd shelve it in the back room.
Some serious shade on Fast and the Furious.
Right, no, that's going in.
That's totally fine.
Your
My parents love action movies because it doesn't require a lot of translation, so they just watch it for the boom and the bang and the and I just can't. I can't watch them anymore.
Okay, so that's your Meh.
The second one, Mad Max. The second one, I don't think I've seen with
the new one with Charlize Theron.
We're pretty old. The new was 10 years ago, probably.
It just came out.
I watched a part of the commercial. I'm gonna say I'll rent it.
Okay.
Herbie, I've also never seen it, but I like the Lindsay Lohan version, so I'd probably buy this one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you,
That was
Roxy. You win,
wonderful.
by the way. You won the game.
You won the game. All right, Sasha. Dance movies.
We love dance movies. I don't know if you love dance movies, but we see all of them.
All right, so we're gonna. All right, I'm not gonna reveal our favorites, but let's just say in no particular order. Center Stage. Now I don't know if you're. Yeah, okay.
Are you familiar with Center Stage? I feel like your
Stage?
film goes well with Center Stage.
Okay.
I feel like I feel like Center Stage sets you, like, shoots it up, and then you spike the ball.
Yeah. So
ballet.
And now we're going to the other end of the spectrum, Black Swan, and then lastly,
We debated
which it was, and okay, Step Up.
Okay, so I'm gonna buy Center Stage. That's one of my favorite movies.
Dance What You Feel.
Dance What You Feel.
Yes. And
favorites.
I auditioned for SAB when I was younger, which is like, that's what like it's based off of. And I remember like, I was like 7 years old and I was like, oh my God, I'm auditioning for the Center Stage School. This is so cool. And then I'm going to say Rent, Step Up. I liked it. It was fine. And then Black Swan, I refuse to see until I end my dance career.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
right.
right.
I've actually literally like I pulled the like a lot of times with like film assignments, like they're like, okay, if you really can't see this movie, if you have a problem with it, like tell me and like we'll make up other arrangements. I've never had the need to do that. Like I'm okay with violence normally, but I got that assignment like freshman year of college and I was like, yes, I am not watching this movie.
Yeah,
Please give me
I
something
would
else.
say that film speaks to the things that your film is, calling attention to quite a bit. All right.
All right, Zach.
Should we just pick 3 Cronenberg films?
No, well, I mean, we could pick 3 Cronenberg
All right, well,
films,
but let's-
I will. Okay, so I'm gonna. So maybe we'll just go back and forth because your genre is stuff.
Well, okay. Can we do?
You start with one.
Okay, so we gotta pick a classic body horror here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with The Fly.
Gotcha.
I'm going to go with a film that I think is maybe one of the most perfect films ever made, the original Alien theatrical cut. Not the director's cut.
Beautiful.
And
And then lastly, I think.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then last THX 1138.
Okay.
Which we picked that because your film kind of gives us these THX vibes.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. That's very.
That's
I'm
George
honored.
Lucas's
Yeah.
student film that became a feature before he made Star Wars. It's curious.
Okay. I'm buying Alien.
Oh,
For sure.
yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong.
I feel like a lot of people leave that off their like horror lists because of the sci-fi element, but the chain scene with all the chains
Oh,
is just
yeah.
like completely terrifying, which makes me love it even more. I think it's going to be hard between the next 2. Sorry, what was the third one?
So we had The Fly
THX.
and
THX.
THX.
I would rent.
By the way, this is supposed to be hard.
Yes.
Yes.
We didn't pick any garbage.
Yeah.
We picked
Yes.
all things that are
Yes,
great.
exactly.
You're supposed to struggle.
These are the top 3 on the mountain, right?
Yeah,
For all
exactly.
of your choices.
I think just based on the things that I like to discuss in film, I think I would rent THX.
Okay.
And then
it's okay.
I would put The Fly meh. Very sad for me to put it there. But
Look,
But
our parents
listen.
probably agree because I remember in 1980, whatever, when they came home and they told me all about it as like a 7-year-old child.
Yes.
Scared the
No.
living daylights out of me.
Still makes me want to barf when I see it. No.
it's
All right.
insane.
All right. Zach, Sasha, Roxy, we'll be back with you after the next block. You're going to be our analysts talking about all of the films that we've seen. Can we have a huge round of applause for these amazing University of Arizona filmmakers?
Thank you. Thank you.
And we'll be back after the next block.
Round for more films.
Before we bring our expert panel back to the stage, because this is the last time we're going to be on the stage tonight, Becky and I want to, on behalf of us, but I think really on behalf of everyone, say a huge thank you to the Wonder House team that have put on this incredible activation all week. A round of applause for... And specifically, because these are the folks that I know there's a lot of folks, but the folks that we've spent all of our time interacting with since last year through this year and in the weeks leading up to Misha Harrison, to Joe, to Chad Herzog, Stephanie, who's working with the production team.
Karen
from the school from the film school.
Putting all these incredible films together.
Oh, there's Karen. Are you Karen?
There she is.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Karen.
No, that's.
No.
What's your the rest of the production team?
And the
Applause
whole
for them.
production team. Thank you.
We've had an amazing week here. We are now going to bring up our expert panel of filmmakers. We're also going to be joined by Peter from Film Tucson. Peter?
There's Peter.
All right, Peter. Hey.
All right.
It's so interesting when you see people in 3D as opposed to 2D and Zoom. Okay,
All
so
right.
first up, we're going to bring, Peter, you're going to sit here. So, Peter,
please come join us.
Peter, I got a Catalanotte? Catalanotte. Peter Catalanotte from Film Tucson.
So that's right here.
And then I'll bring Roxie back to the stage. Roxie.
And
Sasha. And Zack.
yes.
A round of applause for these incredible filmmakers. All right.
Okay, so
We're back.
So we just saw another block of just phenomenal films, and I know when you're in film school, you have to, you work on your classmates' films throughout the year, and you help each other out. You might be doing sound on one, and you might be DPing someone else's. So of the last block that we saw, assuming you didn't work on any of them, or if
Okay,
you did,
you can't pick
you
ones
can't
that
pick
you
one
worked
that you
on.
might have
Don't be
worked on if you
sneaky.
worked on any of those. We would like to know which one of the ones we saw would you have liked to work on, and what would you have liked to have done on it?
Because my answer is 100%. Since I know you weren't asking me, Becky, but my
Shai,
answer
please,
is 100%.
Which one would you have liked to
See,
work
this
on?
is just like the show. No one ever asks me
No,
my opinion. I
no
just have to
one-
give it.
Well, you talk enough, so it's fine.
The opening of At 7, when they're trying to pull that kid's tooth out, I offer my children all the time, whenever they complain about a wiggly tooth, that I would be happy to tie it to a string and yank it out. So I was so excited about that opening. I would love to be there, and that was an
So
incredibly
you would have been the
beautiful
tooth
moment.
yanker?
I would have been. My job would have been tooth yanker, stunt coordinator.
Stunt coordinator. That's
for
more
At
appropriate.
7. That would have been my role. But Zach, you want to go first? Okay.
I think, honestly, the most recent film, Seafood Tester, I actually knew Darius from his YouTube channel before I was even in college for like a while, because he would make videos about filmmaking, and that's when I was kind of coming up and thinking about doing it as a career. And I get to the U of A, and I go to check out some gear, and he just walks up, and I go, oh.
That's a great one.
I didn't say anything because obviously I don't like it. Interacting with people is difficult for me. But
You're doing great up here.
thank you.
Maybe you just need a crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
Bright lights in your face
Yes.
and a microphone.
And a lot of tension.
And
Absolutely.
a lot of attention. That's what was missing.
But yeah, it was very surreal to be like, oh, this is the guy who taught me a lot about filmmaking in my free time. And after seeing his film, especially again after all these years, it's just so powerful. And clearly it's based on his life, and I would have loved to have helped him bring that to life in any way that I could. And I think he had such a great eye for the shots. I would have loved to have helped on the camera department, because he shot through doorways. He used like the geography of his living space so well, and I would have loved to have been a part of that process.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sasha.
All right, Sasha.
Going down
I
the
think I would
line.
also say At 7, because I mean, Harrison is just so adorable and so entertaining. I would do anything on that set just to like follow around and be in that process. Like I could just watch him just be him for so long. Yeah, I think as Tatum mentioned, and I'm going to speak for Tatum for a second, that in her Q&A after the film is that's actually her cousin, and so that's why they had the close access. I think he's just so adorable, and so I would have loved to just do anything on that film.
Roxie.
All right, Roxie.
I would have really liked to work on the sound department in Bookends. It reminds me a lot of Stephanie Silva's film style, and I really love Stephanie, so I would have probably loved to be on that set too. So
That's great.
Bookends was really cool, and Bookends leads me right into my question.
Yes. go.
Because I leaned over to Becky during Bookends, and I said, wow, the acting, the young woman in Bookings, like, blew us away. And now, Sasha, you've worked with subjects, so it's maybe a little bit different. It's a little bit different, but I would love to know from all three of our filmmakers what your process as a director is working with the people that have to either give a performance or share their story with the camera.
I know you've never made a documentary film, but that's a very big part of it.
Okay, all right. Becky's
it's like literally what she has to do is get people to share their stories.
Okay, fair enough. I have not made it. So, yeah, anyone can start, but Sasha, you have the mic, so maybe you want to start.
So for Changement, I mean, with most documentaries, usually do like a pre-talk with them. But as I mentioned, they're like both of them are just they're such open books. So getting them to share their story was very, very easy. I think Kat has a tendency to go off tangents. Which actually was great because I think some of the most gem of moments were because of the tangents and that we were just talking and spinning off. So there'd be some times where I'd be okay, can we just go back to this one question? But it truly just became a conversation even with our interviews. I'm also I'm almost done with my first short narrative film, so I can speak to that in terms. I get very theatrical when I direct actors. I start doing it myself. So I guess me acting it out and be okay, you do it better is kind of how I go about it.
That's awesome. In terms of working with my actors, when it comes to the direction, I definitely come in with a game plan in terms of what I'm looking for out of the performance. But I also make sure that after a couple takes of doing it the way that I'm thinking, I tell them, okay, I want you to do it. If you prepared anything, how would you do it? This is the take to really experiment with it because it's a process and you have to take it it's a journey with them that you have to take you and the actors on. And for example, Elizabeth Von Isser, who played his mother, just completely came in and absolutely nailed it. There was a ton of stuff I didn't even have to say. She just was on it and knew kind of what the role was. The head tilt before she says, "Why do you resist us?" All her. She completely just did that first take. I'm okay, we're moving on. Yeah, no problem. It's all about respecting them and what they bring to the role, and making sure that you don't block out ideas that they have, especially because some of their ideas can be the best moments. And I think that's why with actors, I always feel a need to make sure that they feel respected on set.
That's a really fabulous thing. Now, Roxie, you played both roles, and I just want to say, I still am thinking, you're a director and actor, the moment where you lean over to the car and you say, this is our car, or you refer to it as being you know what I'm talking about, where you're claiming it. I just thought that was it's such a hypnotic moment.
It's so playful and sweet, and I don't know.
I love it. So you're a director. You're directing yourself. You're directing other people. How's that process?
So that was really weird. I'm not gonna lie. I was very challenged by doing that, especially as a first time debut short film. That was very difficult, but. I think all in all is getting to know your actors and hanging out on a more personal basis and making sure you're getting to know each other's memories. And I think the power of memories are so important, especially when you channel them on set. So if you talk to a person and let's say they're one of your co-actors or you're directing someone new and they tell you about this time where they felt it was the happiest day of their life when they were 12 or something. And you really want them to channel that emotion, you can bring up, remember when you told me about that? Show me how you felt. And you can really see their eyes light up or their moods change because, time is all a man-made construct and they can go back into the past and really bring that back.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Go. I wanted to ask. We're going to ask Peter. Okay.
We want to start bringing
We
Peter
have to argue. It's part of our thing.
Also, yeah, all right. I mean, argue. So all of these films are shot in Arizona, in the wonderful state of Arizona. We have
Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, specifically in Tucson.
Yeah, give it up for Tucson.
In Tucson. And we have Peter here from Film Tucson. So what are some notable films? I mean, we see all these incredible student films. What are some notable films that have shot in Tucson or the surrounding areas that we should be talking about?
Well, Tucson has a long history of filming. Most of the westerns you've seen that John Wade starred in were shot in Tucson. We have a western town there that's very popular. Most recently, we worked on a J.J. Abrams pilot for HBO, which hasn't come out yet, called Duster. And then around the same time that was shooting, we assisted the locations team for Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans, the scenes where they're traveling across the desert. Nice. So we're used to working with these bigger projects, but we always love it when the U of A students call us and they're needing locations for their shoots, because our feeling is we want to help them too, because they're going to be the Steven Spielbergs of the future, and we want to get in on the ground floor. So it's really fun to help them when we get the first calls. It's funny, we don't know we don't see a script, we don't know what it is they're filming. So then when we see the final product, it's really fun because we didn't know what your story was and why you were needing this 1960s house or this, whatever it is, a barrio. So it's really fun when the films come out and we get to experience it with the audience. That's great.
And in Tucson, in the Tucson area, can you give us a sense of, right, because we're northeastern, we were raised in Canada. Tucson's probably about as far as you can get. It's diagonal from where we grew up in Montreal. We immediately think desert, but there's more to Tucson than desert, right? Like there's more to that. I would love to hear a little bit about all the different places that people can film in Tucson that are beyond the sort of the John Wayne town.
Okay, got it. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the musical Oklahoma, filmed in, I think, 1956. Not one bit of it was filmed in Oklahoma. It was all filmed south of Tucson, where we have these grasslands, these private ranch lands that look exactly like Oklahoma. So we have that look. We have this mountain. It's about 9,000 feet up, called Mount Lemon, and at the top is a pine forest. Right now it's covered in snow. So at the base we have the Saguaro Desert, and then as you climb up, it's almost like as if you're driving across America. You go from Arizona to California to Oregon, and then at the top you're at Seattle and you're in this snowy pine forest. During the summer it's nice and cool. So we have that look as well. We also sort of have the look of the Middle East. Maybe back in, I can't remember the year, 2005, David O. Russell was making a film called Three Kings with George Clooney.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Love that movie.
And Warner Brothers was making that, and they came to us looking for a place where they could build an Iraqi village. So we found them this desert with no vegetation, and they built this gigantic Iraqi village for that whole film.
Wow, I could not have guessed that was filmed in the United States.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They didn't want to film it in Afghanistan, so they wanted someplace a little safer. And then we have the look of Mexico, of course, because we're about an hour north of the border. We get a lot of calls for the look of Mexico. So Steven Soderbergh's Traffic from 2000, the scenes that were set in Tijuana were actually done in Nogales, which is just an hour south of us. So we can get the look of Mexico very easily. We can facilitate filming on both sides of the border. So we have all those kind of looks in one area.
Can we have a huge round of applause for these amazing University of Arizona filmmakers?
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Friday Night Movie, the sibling rivalry and pop culture podcast. Join the Friday Night Movie family by following @FryNightMovie on all of the socials and visiting our website, FryNightMovie.com. Our theme song is by What Does It Eat? And make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.